Okay, welkom julle. Vandag sal ons net 'n bietjie oefen vir ons begripstoets. Ons sal 'n paar wenke kyk vir hoe om jou best te doen met jou begripstoetsvrae en ook wat om te oefen om jou merke te verbeter. So, ek sal nou in Engels praat want ek weet nie almal verstaan Afrikaans baie mooi nie. So yes, guys, welcome. Today we're talking about comprehension. On this side of the screen, we will be looking at the tips that you can study and remember for your Afrikaans comprehension. And on this side is just an example paper so that we can see how these rules apply. So the first thing that you need to understand about Afrikaans comprehensions is that they are always going to be structured in a very similar way. So the first thing, like this tip says, is that comprehension questions are divided into specific levels, with levels 1 and 2 focusing on contextual questions. That means things like who, wie, wat, waar, en wanneer. These kind of things are usually going to be in the first section of your comprehension. We can see that here. So this noem twee Suid-Afrikaanse sepies wat in paragraaf 1 genoem word. So again, that's another way of asking wat. Wat is die Suid-Afrikaanse sepies, soap operas that are named in paragraph 1? Again here, gee twee kenmerke van sepies, give two characteristics of soap operas. Again, we're asking wat. Here is another one, waarom is dit wat Aggie in paragraaf 5 oor 7de laan sê? Waarom, hoekom, why? Again here, watter, who. So these are all questions to see whether you have understood the text, the basic language that the text has been using. The next levels, 3 to 5, involve more complex reasoning, including applying knowledge and evaluating or concluding based on the text. So this is where you have to use a little bit of higher reasoning. So let's say in the later questions, these questions, they require a bit of interpretation and a bit of higher reasoning. So that's basically how it's going to be structured most of the time. The beginning, you can look at the questions, they'll tell you where to find the answers. And then the next tip we have is approximately 40% of the question paper will consist of level 1 and 2 questions, and another 40% will be level 3 questions. So only 20% will focus on levels 4 and 5, emphasizing that students can score 80% without personal opinion. Meaning if you really struggle with your Afrikaans vocab, you can still get by even with just the lower functioning questions. So obviously your responses have to be in Afrikaans, and this is very important. When answering, use the title and any accompanying images of the comprehension passage for context, as they usually provide clues about the subject matter. So another tip that you may have learned in school, maybe not, is that the way that it's structured is a mirror to the way that the text is structured. So here we have 12 paragraphs. We can say almost for certain that the first few questions are referring only to the first few paragraphs. So meaning this first question is never going to say, look at paragraph 12. What does it say? Because our first questions are always going to refer to the first things in the text, and our later questions, like here, this is question 8, and now we're talking about paragraph 9, which is a later paragraph. Our later questions are going to refer, like here, to the later paragraphs. So if you're really lost, remember that. Another thing we can do is look for keywords. So we know many things the questions of a comprehension give you many, many clues. And you need to know that in every comprehension, no matter what, they're trying to get you to say the right answer. So here, they're giving you the first clue. The answer is in paragraph 1 and paragraph 2. Then they're giving you another clue. They're saying, noem twee. Name two things, Suid-Afrikaanse sepies, wat in paragraaf 1 genoem word. So there they're giving you two clues. One that your answer lies in paragraph 1, another that you have to name two things. In any question, let's say this one. Let's take this as an example. Paragraaf 6. Hoe het sewende land mense gehelp om hulle Afrikaans te verbeter? Noem twee dinge. Let's say you read the sentence and you don't really understand what it's asking you. You understand they've mentioned paragraph 6, they've also mentioned sewende land. You see Afrikaans, so you understand that, and you see the word mense. You know what mense means? So you understand maybe 60 to 70% of this question. Then you look. The first thing you need to do is read the question again slowly. So go through each word and see what you understand. Sometimes Afrikaans words are very similar to English words, like gehelp. That means helped. So even if we didn't understand in the first round, if we look at it a second time with some patience and some effort, we will see some keywords that we can understand. So we look at gehelp. We understand something about Afrikaans, something about people, something about helping people. Sewende land, helping people. So then we go to paragraph 6. We find one of our keywords, sewende land, perfect. Another one of our keywords, Afrikaans, perfect. Then we see, okay, something, and here's Afrikaans again. Baie mense, one of our keywords, wat met Afrikaans sukkel, het sepies soos hierdie gebruik om hulle taal vermoë te verbeter. Verbeter is another keyword. Okay, so we keep that in mind. We keep reading. We go, hulle het na die Afrikaans dialoog geluister en dan die Engelse subtitles gelees. Op hierdie manier leer hulle nuwe woordeskat aan en hoor ook die korrekte uitspraak van die woorde. Here we suddenly have an influx of our keywords. We have the words Afrikaans. We know they're talking about Engelse, Afrikaanse. If we read our paragraph again, we'll see this word, dialoog, which sounds very similar to the English word dialogue. And from this, we can understand, even if you only understand 50 to 70% of the words here, you can make out the fact that they're saying the sepies, the shows, like sewende land, help people understand Afrikaans dialogue better because they're listening to the words and they're reading the English, here we go, Engelse, subtitles, literally subtitles, you can see what it says. And in this way, op hierdie manier, we learn new words, nuwe woorde. Then we go back and we answer. We have a third clue here, which is noem twee dinge. So this is what I'm trying to tell you. The questions give you a lot. And I want you to focus, even if you are confused by vocab and you feel that you don't understand, if you focus and you go slowly through each and every word, you will find out that you know much more than you think. And through this method of literally, it's like spot the difference, you're basically matching. So you're saying, I see this word in this question, I'm going to the text to find it again. And that way you can build your answers. All right, let's go back to the tips here. So they tell you, read the entire text before reviewing the questions. Identify keywords in the questions and locate them in the text. Here's another important tip. Avoid writing long paragraphs because often we struggle with our sentence structure. It confuses us and it uses a lot of our energy. And so if you have a limited amount of energy for your Afrikaans paper, you need to be using it very wisely. You need to be saving energy on your sentence structure and your sentence creation because you need to use it for identifying the correct answers. So keep your sentences short, keep them simple, and keep them correct. That's how we keep them correct, by keeping them short and keeping them simple. Okay. So when we talk about the importance of contextual understanding and personal opinion, comprehension often requires you to interpret information, requiring you to provide personal insights or opinions based on the text. So it's always beneficial to relate back to specific sentences and paragraphs for sourcing factual answers and understanding broader meanings. Yes, so through practice, going through past papers, reading as much as you can, engaging with Afrikaans outside of school by watching shows or listening to music, talking to your Afrikaans friends, will all help this higher level thinking, because you can only think if you have the words in which to think, right? Yeah, so these are the main things that we have to do for comprehension. I also want you guys to understand that in order to improve your Afrikaans, you have to engage with your Afrikaans. You can't get better if you are doing it, twice a week in school and doing 1 hour of tutoring. You have to engage with it on your own accord because you want to improve. A language is a living thing that lives inside you, and if you don't feed it, it dies. And the way that you feed it is through texts, reading, writing, listening, and speaking. You can use social media for this. You can engage with memes in Afrikaans. You can watch reels. Literally any way of engaging with Afrikaans will improve your vocab and your ability to test and to communicate in Afrikaans by 100%. Yes, so this has just been a bit of comprehension help. I hope that it's helped, and thanks for watching. Tot ziens!